But we had about 15,000 devices that were unaccounted for still because of our inaccurate asset management process. The ROI and the financial impact of not managing your assets, right? We paid about $300,000 more than we should have because we wouldn't manage our assets.
Yeah. So yeah, we've had our development team actually build an IT asset management system just for this kind of thing. Hey, one thing is you got to know where your assets are.
Hey, welcome. This is Jay and Mike on the IT Directors Podcast, powered by Clearwinds. We have Stan, our president and owner at Clearwinds today.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yes.
I appreciate that.
I mean, we're going to be talking with Stan about IT asset management,
Oh yeah. And hey, even to jump off straight from the jump, when we're talking asset management, what is an asset? Like, let's go ahead and define it from the gates. Like, what are we talking about when we're talking about asset management?
Yeah, I mean, it could be any real IT, anything that's connected to your technology. So if that's your client machine that your users are using, or it could be a switch, or, any kind of network thing, or maybe in your data center, it could be your servers, your storage, it could be even your software that's actually running on your servers or your client machines. So really anything that's connected, for your technology.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, Stan, why do you need to manage your IT assets? So as an IT organization or company, why is it so important to manage and wrap your arms around your assets?
Well, as if you are an IT director out there, you end up with a lot of assets out there.
Yes.
And I know because you've got experience in this. So there's just so many things. I mean, you're constantly purchasing. You got new employees coming on. And so you buy them a new computer, or it may be a new phone, or hey, they need some monitors to hook up for their location. And then you also have your data center. I mean, there's just, hey, we need a new application. So, hey, let's put up a new server or something like that. Or, hey, we need to do some backups, or whatever. So there's just a lot of things that you end up having. Well, if you don't keep track of it, then you don't know what you got.
100%.
Yes.
When you were talking, Stan, I was thinking about one project Clearwinds helped in the previous role I was in, managing our Apple devices. We had 21,000 Apple devices that we deployed.
That's a lot.
But we had about 15,000 devices that were unaccounted for, Stan, because of our inaccurate asset management process. And so when you were talking about that is so important to be able to manage and wrap your arms around your assets and to know where they are. Are they old? Do we need to end of life? Are they in our environment? Are they stolen? Are they broke? Are they lost? So it's pretty interesting because as an IT director, a lot of times they don't know those things,
Right.
And if you don't have the tools to do it.
Right.
So
yeah, those things are so key because just like you say, hey, you bring in a bunch of assets. Well, the thing is you need to not only configure them, but then you're going to, hand them out. I mean, for your case, you had 21,000. Well, you handed them out to a bunch of people that, now where's it going?
Where's it going?
So you got to be able to track it, or it may be that you have assets in a particular building, or on a campus or something. So those things are key to be able to track and know where your asset is and who has it. But then the other thing is, just like you said, hey, as things get older, do we need to retire it, or is it still good? Is it into support? So those things are critical too, that you have to be able to track. Very key to know what you got. And then it could be that you may have a power user that's using maybe a more powerful device, but it's something that you may be, it's not good for them anymore. So you may be able to reissue it to somebody else, just rebuild it and give it to somebody else. And that could last them for another couple of years.
I was thinking, Michael, as Stan was talking about that, is the ROI and the financial impact of not managing your assets, right? So we had a Mosul, which is an MDM, and we paid about $300,000 more than we should have because we wouldn't manage our assets, because we didn't do the end of life cycle. We didn't, retire the old devices. And once you buy those licenses, they're perpetual. They keep racking up. So when you were talking, Stan, I thought about that. What tools has Clearwinds have you came up with to help manage that whole process, like from the procuring the device to the life cycle to retiring it to managing
Sure.
it?
Yeah. So yeah, we've had our development team actually build an IT asset management system
Nice.
just for this kind of thing. Hey, one thing is you got to know where your assets are and what. The other thing that we really hadn't even talked about, hey, what's actually on that asset? What
Yeah.
what kind of software and those kind of things. I mean,
Yeah.
those are key. So we do that, but even with our, we've got a managed service team and they have tools where they go out and discover everything. Hey, maybe you don't even know what you got. So we'll go and discover every computer, every server. And then we also will not only do that, but we also are pulling in all the software that's on those devices so that we know what's on there and what version it is. Because now if we start talking about it, hey, what is the implications of not updating your systems if you don't know? And so those are could be security issues and those kind of things. And then, just kind of like you said, hey, what is the financial? I mean, obviously, if you don't know what physical assets you got, then that could be a real problem, right? Because, hey, you'll just be buying extra stuff. But when you think about the software, I mean, I've seen many organizations, including ourselves. I mean, we have bought extra software licenses that we didn't really need.
Yeah.
I mean, so
when I think about this, like from my seat, because we're going to have people from all different backgrounds, organizations, all different types of sizes. Who's an ideal candidate to take this strategic approach towards this? Do you have to be a bigger company, or what's the ideal size to start thinking strategically about creating a system to manage this?
Sure. I mean, really any size organization can use this. I mean, hey, if you got, just a few employees, then hey, it's a good time to start because I mean, you think, oh, I can just kind of keep that on a spreadsheet. But,
Yeah.
Well, next thing you know, you've got like, wow, I've got, 50, 60 assets. And then every time I'm thinking about it, now I got to go back to that. I got to update it where, I could probably do something a lot more automated, just to kind of keep up with those kind of things. So really any size. Now, for a company like ours, we can help you with that. So you don't have to go out and buy an IT asset management and manage it. For you smaller companies, that may be something that you'd like for us to do. For a larger company, you may want to manage your assets yourself. I mean, when we can kind of help you out with that, or the other organization can help you out with those kind of things.
So we're kind of talking about it too, like implications of not doing it. I know we said a little bit from a security standpoint. Cybersecurity standpoint, what are the implications of not having a solid grasp on the devices that you have?
Yeah. So one thing that you always want to do with any of your assets from a software and OS type standpoint, you need to update them, right? So those are kind of key things that you got to do all the time. So yeah, I mean, what's the implication of not doing that? I mean, obviously we've already mentioned security. Security can be a big issue that, if you don't do it, then it's going to kind of get away from you. One thing that's just kind of rolled past us was the Windows 10, has kind of is kind of sunsetted. Now, Microsoft has realized that, hey, everybody couldn't get to Windows 11, that quickly. So they've kind of made a provision to kind of keep on doing security updates for, another year or so. But the thing is, they are not doing all updates. I mean, it's just the critical security stuff. And you got to pay for that. But they want you to move to Windows 11, and there will be a cutoff one day that will be like, all right, that's it. If you're not on Windows 11, you're just kind of up the creek. So that's very key, the security side of it.
You mentioned the cybersecurity part of that. CrowdStrike, I mean, that all happened about 3 months ago?
Right.
Yeah.
Sure.
I mean, it totally wiped out systems. I remember going through the airport. I was going to fly, and I'm looking up, and half of their monitors were blue screened. They had the blue screen to death, but that was because they didn't have the update.
That's right.
Some of their machines had updates and some of them didn't. And I remember walking through there thinking like, wow. And I had no idea the implications of it at that early stage. If you have an asset management software, and you have updates and you know what's on the hardware, and it helps you avoid some of those cyber issues.
Yeah,
sure.
And I'm hearing two things. It's one thing to have it. It's another to have somebody knowledgeable monitoring
understanding
it and
what
understanding
it is.
it. So
that's right. Yeah, you definitely have to have both so that you know what you got. One of the things that, just thinking about not having one, I was kind of reminding me of an instance where, our company, we were kind of managing a lot of our IT assets, but we do another thing that is device repair, kind of repair them for school systems and repair their student devices and all. But one of the things we got to have is we got to have parts. Right?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of parts that kind of go into it. So kind of when we started out, we'd order parts and, bring them in. but we weren't really putting them into an asset management
Tracking
system.
those parts you're getting, yeah.
So eventually we were, and so we're keeping up with everything. But it was interesting. I went out to our warehouse not too long ago and came back and was talking to my leader there, and I was like, yeah, back in this cage, we just got boxes and boxes. Like, yeah, all those were before we were tracking. so just older parts that we don't need anymore. But we weren't tracking them, so we didn't know what we had them, and we probably overbought. Obviously.
Yeah.
So hey, again, that's, if we were doing the right thing, we'd have saved some money on parts that we didn't need to buy. That would have been helpful. So, those kind of things are very key. And then we could also track those for life cycle, because those parts are only for, let's just say, like an old HP G4 or something.
Yeah.
Something that's kind of sunsetted, but
Tell me about life cycle. From a sales seat, I hear so many people think, oh yeah, I buy something, it should last forever.
Yeah. So, obviously if you got a management system that you can look at this, the life cycle of a device is only so long, and it's different for different devices. Maybe a switch you might get 6, 8, 10 years out of, but a user device, that's probably only lasting 3 or 4 years. Yeah. You got to kind of know when that device is kind of coming up. So that's the great thing. When you get an IT asset management system, you want to be able to have good reporting, right? So you can put all your assets in there, but if you can't really report on it, it's not that helpful, right? So that's real key, being able to report on what you got there and be able to say, like, okay, hey, what do I have that's coming out of support? And even for that, hey, just tracking your hardware and software. When do I need to, update my warranty? Servers are a good thing about that. They'll give you a 3-year warranty, but then after that, it's not really supported, but that's still a critical device for you. So that may last you for 2 or 3 more years. So,
it helps you forecast, right? It helps you plan, and your whole thought process is better.
That's right.
I was thinking, Stan, as he was talking, Michael, was about, we have these kiosks, right? That people, teachers, and, clock in and out for work, right? The frontline kiosk. And they're used Chromebooks. Sure. Well, Chromebooks, are end of life. Those things, when they're end of life, they're just like a brick.
Sure.
We had no asset management around these Chromebooks because they were end of life. So they wasn't even manageable in the Google Management Console.
Yeah.
And so I was thinking, if you had a real asset management tool, you could forecast, you avoid like emergency purchases,
right?
Catastrophic where you can't function as a organization. So, I really think that decision-making process is huge. Stand on that,
It's kind of interesting. You mentioned about the kiosk. We got another customer they use apples in their kiosk.
Yeah.
And they're like, hey, those things, like you say, kind of last forever. Yeah. You don't have to manage them. So they didn't want them in the management system. Well, guess what? Eventually they kind of kick the bucket, and it's like, hey, what do we need to do about it? I'm like, well, we're not even sure, because we're not monitoring it. We don't really know what it is. So, it means, hey, we got to send somebody out there, and it costs them money. And it's like, well, but if you have it under management, you can look at it at a moment's notice and see what you need. So.
And you touched on like the warranty and the contract, especially on big servers, data center stuff, switches, firewalls. If you have that warranty information tied into your asset management, that's huge.
Right.
Because I would say that a lot of IT directors probably don't even know when their firewall is going to be out of warranty until they get an email from the vendor saying, hey.
That's right.
Well, and even with that, like, we work with a ton of organizations, and I hear all the time, like, hey, why do I even need a warranty? Why do I even need this license? Like, hey, for those who might not have experienced that yet, what does that provide them by being able to have, whether it's the renewal or the warranty? What does that even do for you?
Yeah, well, obviously it gives you support. So, if you do have an issue, hey, if something's going wrong on your firewall that you need to know, or any device, it gives you the ability to call them and get help. So that's real key. And then getting all the software and firmware updates and everything, that is part of that warranty. So as things get older, threat actors, they figure things out on your device and everything. So it's very key for you to have those kind of things. So to have that warranty service, because if you don't, then you're pretty much on your own. And then you do have a problem, you call up, it's like, oh, you don't have a warranty. And if you needed an upgrade on that, well, you're kind of, that's tough luck for you too. Yeah.
Hey, look, Stan, try to call VMware if you don't have a support contract with them. They're not helping you. They don't care if you pay them $1 million.
Sure.
But that you brought up, that's a great point. From an IT director, right? Someone who did it for many years. If I didn't know when I had warranty and service and support, And it makes me feel better knowing, right?
Mm-hmm.
But early on in my career, the only way I knew is I got an email from a vendor like you guys. Right. So I think that's something in the asset management stand that a lot of people don't think about.
Right.
Is having those contracts tied into that asset.
Right.
You know, that's
right.
a really good tool, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
The more I thought about it.
I know you talked a little bit about the tool that Clearwinds has. What is that?
So it's an IT asset management system. It goes by a couple of different names depending on, what you're looking at. So for schools, it's called School Manager. And, and there's a version for the commercial world. We just call it IT asset management. And what's great about that is, obviously it has a database and you can utilize it for your assets and you can report on it, everything that we've talked about. But what we like about our tool, there's a couple things that we like about it. One is we built it as a web app. So you can just use your phone and hey, if you need to scan devices into the system, you just use your phone and you can pull it out with your camera and you just scan and put it right in. So that's very nice. Or if you have a technician that's going out for a problem, they can go scan the device and then boom, everything pops up about all the information about that device. Can be very helpful. So that the ability to have that web app and scan is great. The reporting is super nice. But the other thing that we heard from when we were creating this, we actually sat down with 3 IT directors. They were actually complaining hey, our system, it just doesn't work. Yeah. One of the big things they were asking for was custom fields.
Correct. That's what I was thinking about.
So a lot of them do not offer custom fields out there. So that's what we did. We put in some custom fields that they can use for whatever they want. Maybe they've got their own asset tag or they've got just other information that they would like to track. So.
Yeah. I'm telling you, Michael, this is a great episode. Our listeners and our viewers are going to love hearing about this. Number one is that Clearwinds we offer is such an amazing tool for our end users and organizations. But number two is just all of the things around IT asset management that Stan talked about. I think a lot of people let those things fall by the wayside. They don't think about how important a lot of that is.
I feel like it's important to put yourself in a spot where you can hear what are other people doing.
Yeah.
Like what works, what's not working. So appreciate you coming on today and sharing that information with us.
We're so glad you came on and appreciate you being in the studio with us today. The Clearwind studio. We like our setup here. It's fantastic. And I think it's going to be great for all of our listeners and viewers because, IT directors, they only know what they know. And a lot of them are super busy. They don't have time to network and get around different people. So this is such a great avenue for them to gain some knowledge and different life experiences from people. Well, look, what a great show today. We are so glad to have Stan in the studio, and we are just super excited about this episode. So look, tune in, go follow us on Instagram, go follow us on X, and this is Michael and Jay, and we are out. Hey, thanks for joining us today on the IT Directors Podcast. We're so glad you joined us. Look, go follow us on all social media platforms. The IT Directors Podcast powered by Clearwinds. And look, if you want more information, check out our website, clearwinds.net. We're going to have show notes, special guest bios. We're going to have reels. Our marketing team has done a fantastic job. Go check this out. We're so thankful that you joined us today.